Welcome back to my channel. You are watching True Summer Knits. My name is Maddie. I am the knitter behind True Summer Knits. You may notice we are in a different location. This is my craft room. I've wanted to film videos in here. I have a window that I can sit right in front of, but I just haven't gone to set it up yet. But I've got my microphone set up in here, I've got my camera, and let me know if this location is distracting. I feel like there's a lot, so I'm hoping they won't be too noticeable. But anyway, let's get to the video. So, I have been doing some pattern roundups lately, and I have another one for you today. But today, the topic of the video is going to be pieces that you could add to your summer capsule wardrobe. So we're talking pieces that are somewhat timeless. They don't necessarily have to be just stockinette, but they'll be timeless, slightly textured. They can be knitted in the neutral colors that work best for you, and they are just going to be really easy stuff that you can wear every summer and build outfits around. Now, of course, you'll want to add like some more trendy pieces, some more interesting pieces in brighter colors, but my focus on these is pieces that you can knit in your neutrals. They can always be part of your wardrobe, and they're very accessible and, easy to accessorize. So I've also created a Pinterest board with all these patterns, and all the patterns are linked in there. And I also put in the list that I sort of based my capsule wardrobe off of. Like, it has all the different basics you should have to put in your capsule wardrobe. I put some pictures of like some linen pants in there and some shoes, so you can kind of picture what it would look like to put these outfits together. And I also put in the neutrals for all of the different color seasons. So for every season, it has like their main 6 or so neutrals. That way, if you know what season you are, you can get some inspiration for colors to knit these pieces in that will always look good on you. But yeah, I'm excited. Let's get this started. So I'm just going to start with the first patterns. Real quick, I kind of organized these by tees and tanks mostly. Some more basic tanks, some more basic tees, some slightly more textured and interesting pieces. And then I've also got a skirt, which is exciting. So a skirt and a dress. So we will get started now. So I am going to start with tees, which I've got 3 tees for you today. And these, actually I've got 4 tees for you. I've got some more basic ones and a more textured one. So the first tee that I want to talk about is the Chloe tee by Solvara Knitwear. This is a tee that actually I really like. On my pattern roundup videos, I might not always plan to knit every pattern, even if I like them. I just kind of want to share them. But this one, I really want to do. It's a very simple tee. It's not exactly fitted. It's maybe slightly oversized. And it has this really cute edging around the sleeves and the v-neck. I did want to throw in a v-neck tee in here because I feel like I've got like some more standard neck tees in here, and I wanted like a v-neck. She just says that the v-neck edges are a picot edging. She doesn't specify, so I'm guessing they're knitted. I know you can do knitted picot edges like that. She says it's a folded picot edge. I was just making sure it wasn't a crochet, but she doesn't seem to require a crochet hook in the pattern listing. So it's all just stockinette with those edges with the v-neck. She recommends a fingering, or she says it's a sport weight yarn, and I think that might be what Ravelry just put for her, because the 2 yarns she recommends are more like fingering weight, but they are like planty type fibers, so I'm wondering if they just grew a little bit with blocking. But she recommends the Knitting for Olive Pure Silk, which I think of having a gauge as 28 stitches per 4 inches, but she has 26 stitches per 4 inches. So I'm not sure if that's because it loosens up with blocking or if she's deliberately going for a looser gauge. She does recommend a bigger needle than I would use for the Pure Silk, 3.5 millimeters, so I'm guessing that it's just a looser gauge. I'm sure if you wanted to use a smaller needle and you didn't want such a loose gauge, I'm sure you could do some quick calculations and maybe size down or size up and get a denser gauge if that's what you want. It's probably what I would do, because I I don't like very open gauges usually. I don't like things to be see-through or anything. She also recommends the Issachar Trio 2, which I think is just a similar yarn. I think it's got like the cotton, linen, and viscose. And she says this pattern is available from extra, extra small to 5XL, but she does say that the size is extra, extra small, and then anything above a 2XL is actually not test knitted, but she still has them available. She includes an email, so I'm guessing if you want to provide feedback, you could probably email her and, see if maybe she'll give you the pattern for free in exchange for some feedback. But it looks like if you don't feel like giving feedback, you can also just buy the pattern and have the not tested version of the pattern in your size. And it has a slightly positive ease. If I didn't mention that, she says that it should have about a positive ease of 10%. And the next two tees I have to talk about are the more basic tees. And they're actually by both by the same designer. They are by Lily Kate France. I think she's getting to be a pretty popular designer, but she's got lots of different patterns. So if you haven't seen these tees, I think they're really cute. The first one I'm going to talk about is the Brightest tee, which was the first one added to the list because I really like it. But it's got a little bit more detail than her other one, so I guess it's a little slightly less basic. It kind of has this almost boat neck-like construction, which I feel is timeless, but also is kind of in right now. It's just it's a fitted tee. It looks somewhat cropped or just supposed to come like right to your hips, like right at the top of your pants. It is a fingering weight pattern. This one also has a gauge of 26 stitches to 4 inches, and she recommends two yarns that I've never seen before. Both the yarns she recommends are 100% merino yarns. I'm sure you could go just fine with some kind of cotton merino blend or of plant fiber, depending on how warm you want the tee to be. But the two yarns that she recommends are Yaku by Camarose and the Discreet Unicorn High Twist 100% merino. I've never heard of either of these yarns, but they're just essentially a fingering weight, 100% merino wool yarn. It looks like the original pattern is meant to just have these little cap sleeves, which is kind of what shows in the pattern picture, but she says she updated it recently to include a slightly more substantial sleeve. So I'm guessing it's a little bit more than just a tiny cap sleeve on the side. So that's nice that she gives you options for those. Looks like the pattern is knit on 3.25 and 3mm needles. She doesn't list the amount of sizes, she just lists all the different bust circumferences, so I had to go and count all the sizes, but it looks like she has 9 sizes ranging from 28 inches to 62 inches, so a good size range. She says that the Brightest tee is worked seamlessly from the top down. You start by casting on the back neck stitches, which are worked with short rows to create that boat neck line. And then I think you continue shaping the back, then you shape the front, and then you connect it in the round. And then you just pick up for the sleeves using short rows to create the little tiny cap sleeves. And then she also includes optional bust darts. So this pattern has a lot of options. I think this would be a great pattern to just buy and maybe knit multiple of and kind of change it a little bit. I think this is a perfect kind of pattern for like a capsule wardrobe. Honestly, this would be good for any season, but especially in the summer, depending on the yarn that you choose and the climate that you live in. And then all of the edges are just finished with a really thin rib. She doesn't mention it in the description, but on the side, there's this little, almost like ribbed edging with some eyelets. I'm assuming the eyelets are optional. I'm wondering if the rib is a way to conceal like waist shaping and stuff. I'm really not sure, but it's such a small detail that I'm sure if you just did want to do stockinette, you probably could just omit that, and you could definitely omit the eyelets. I personally wouldn't knit the eyelets, but I guess if you want a little more interesting of a look, you could put those in. It's not really for me, but it's definitely optional. The other Lily Kate France tee is the Feels Right tee, which I'd say is a little bit more basic. They're very similar, so that's why I'm kind of lumping them together as one. But it's all stockinette, it's very simple. She calls it the everyday t-shirt that goes with everything. This pattern actually came out first, so it's got a similar gauge. It's knit with a 4-ply fingering weight yarn. She has a 26 stitch gauge, so I'm guessing that's just the gauge she gets with fingering weight yarn. I don't know. She does knit this pattern again with 3.25 millimeter needles, so maybe you're more likely to get a 26 stitch gauge with those needles. But again, I would probably do some adjusting to get a smaller gauge with a different size if I knit this, but that's just me. It's a little bit less fitted around the waist, but it is still pretty fitted. It's meant to have a couple inches of positive ease, but to me it still looks pretty fitted. She's got 9 different sizes again, so I'm sure you could play around with different sizes to get the kind of fit that you're looking for. And she also says that this pattern is sort of designed to be played with. She recommends adding stripes as you want or blocks of color. She's got different samples that show off these different things. So this would be another great basic pattern to buy so that you can just sort of mess around and make the tee that you want to make. The last tee pattern is the more textured tee. It's still simple enough that I feel like it'll always be kind of in. You could mess around with the sizing and knit different sizes to get different amounts of ease. This is the Mento tee by Knitonomy or Magdalene Parker. The sample that she uses is basically an oversized cable knit tee. Again, I'm sure you could size down to get a little bit less positive ease, or size up if you want a more positive ease, but it's just got very simple, flatter cables. I feel like this would just be a nice basic. It's more like a cozy t-shirt. Like if you maybe knit it a little more fitted, you could definitely dress it up. But I feel like it's one of those kind of dressed up, like more casual pieces. So you kind of feel a little more put together, but it's comfy because it's a little bit oversized, but you still kind of look like you're trying, you know what I mean? She knit this with Knit Picks Capretta, which I think is a sock yarn, or it might be, I know they used to make Capretta in a non-superwash version, but it's a cashmere merino blend with some nylon in it. And it's a fingering weight yarn. Again, she says it's 26 stitches per 4 inches. She doesn't specify, but I'm assuming she means in the cable pattern. And she knits this on 3.5 millimeter needles. Looking at it close, the gauge does seem to be a little bit more open, but only because it has like a pearl background, so I'm not sure if it would be a little bit more airy than like a normal tee, but I think it would still be pretty covered because it's got a lot of fabric and the cables kind of clumped together a little bit, if you know what I mean. It comes from extra extra small to 3XL. It's also got a drop shoulder. I don't know why I couldn't think of that word. And it's knit top down in the round seamlessly, and then you just pick up the edges at the end to knit a little bit of rib. The last top before I get into the tank tops is, I'm just gonna call it a top because I guess it's sort of like a tee, but it's also one of those button-up tops. And even though I try to use some more underrated patterns, this is one you probably will have already seen before. It's the Umbria Summer Top by Cookie the Knitter. It is this really beautiful button-up broken rib top. When she knits it, she kind of leaves buttons off the top part of the top, so it kind of looks like a polo. I think it's supposed to be fitted, not quite negative ease. I think she just knits it with no ease. So again, I'm sure you can play around, get a different fit, but it looks very casual, very comfortable, but in a very put together way. And it's just a basic button up top with a little bit of texture, so it's always gonna be something you can wear. You could knit these in just your neutral colors, and you could wear it with like nice pants, or you could just wear it with shorts and it'd be like a casual little top to wear. So I think this is a great top, and this is one I kind of want to knit myself. I think the broken rib pattern looks really elegant. It looks like you just work the yoke back and forth. Obviously it's not in the round, considering it's kind of like a cardigan style button up, but it looks like the sleeves are shaped with raglan increases. I can't even really tell, so she must do a pretty good job incorporating that with the broken rib texture that she has. And then there's some decreases added into the body to make it a little bit more fitted. Apparently you use a tubular cast on in this pattern, which I've never done before. So if that's a technique you want to learn, here's a pattern you can do to try to do that technique. She also says there are short rows in the pattern, but she doesn't specifically mention where they are. I'm guessing probably somewhere in the back neck, but that is also something that you use in this pattern if you want to learn how to do that. And like I said, you can have anywhere from 3/4 of an inch to 4 inches of positive ease. The gauge for this is 24 stitches per 4 inch in that broken rib pattern. It comes in the sizes double extra small to 5XL. She recommends using the Pure Silk by Knitting for Olive or another yarn that I guess is a Pure Silk equivalent by Cardiff Cashmere. I've never heard of it. It's called Silk 8 by Cardiff Cashmere, but they're both just fingering weight silk yarns. I think the silk would look amazing in this broken rib texture. I think when you're using those like barrette silk, those like raw silks, you definitely want to use a pattern that has a little bit of texture. It just looks so much better than if you do it in pure stockinette, and I've said that a million times. So if you have some pure silk and you don't know what to do with it, I think this would be a great top to knit this in. In a neutral especially, Knitting for Olive has tons of the perfect neutrals for like every shade. Or, if you want like a little bit more of a fun top, you could knit it in a brighter color and it would look really good too. So now we are going to talk about tank tops, which took me a long time to narrow down what tank tops I wanted to choose. I wanted things that were interesting but timeless, like I said. I feel like the most popular tank tops in the knitting community are by My Favorite Things Knitwear. And when I do these pattern roundups, I feel like we've all seen those patterns by like My Favorite Things Knitwear and Petite Knit. So I don't feel the need to talk about them. I'd rather try to show you patterns you might not have seen or remind you of how good some patterns are that we might, push aside in favor of those bigger designers. Nothing wrong with them, but I just want to show you guys some interesting stuff. So any of My Favorite Things Knitwear patterns would be great for a capsule wardrobe. They're all awesome basic tank tops, and you can go check those out if you want to, but I'm not going to include any of those in my pattern roundups. So the first tank I wanted to talk about is one I've actually mentioned before, so I do kind of feel like that's cheating, and I'm sorry, but I just wanted to find the perfect stockinette tank top. Like something that is simple, you could knit it in a million colors, and it's just the most basic pattern that's like always going to work for you. And this was the hardest one to find. I looked through so many, I was so picky, and I almost didn't want to talk about this one because, like I said, I didn't want to talk about a pattern that I've already talked about in the past. And I just finally decided this is the perfect stockinette pattern. There are a couple others that would work good too, but this is the one I want to recommend for your capsule wardrobe. So that is the 7 p.m. tank by Tiffany Ty. It is this beautiful spaghetti strap fitted tank top. I think the way she designs this pattern is, I believe it's sort of like a made-to-measure type situation. I actually own this pattern, and I've briefly looked through it, but I know she has like a calculator set up where you put in the specific measurements she asks for, and it helps you come up with the stitch counts or something. But it's fitted, it's seamed, and it has this like underbust panel, so the knits like go in these different directions, and it looks really interesting texturally, even though it's just stockinette. I think she includes like different options for bust darts and waist shaping. I was looking at pictures of the pattern, and it mentioned that there's 1x1 rib, so it looks like on the very back of the camisole, and I could be wrong because I was looking at a bunch of pictures to try to determine where the 1x1 rib is. It looks like there's a panel on the back that's 1x1 rib. I'm guessing it would work kind of like if you wear like a shirred top, and I'll kind of put in a picture of what I'm talking about. It really helps with fit because it sort of cinches in and it can kind of expand to fit more sizes. So I'm guessing that 1x1 rib kind of acts the same way to like help with a closer fit. But this is knit bottom up, and it's knit, I think she says, both flat and in the round, and it involves seaming. So if that's not something you like, maybe don't do it. But this seems pretty simple, and I feel like this would be a really good, just the perfect stockinette pattern in my opinion. I've wanted to knit one, and I definitely do want to. I think at some point this is going to be what I use my Japanese anemone Knitting for Olive cotton merino for, because that's a brighter color than I normally go for. It's a little brighter than my palette, so I feel like a very basic pattern like this is something that would be perfect. But also would be perfect for your neutrals. Again, I think this is a tank top where you would knit it in like one of your lighter neutrals and one of your darker neutrals, and then you could pair it with like everything in your wardrobe, like all of your pants, all of your cardigans, whatever time of year it is. I just think this is a really good piece to have in your wardrobe. And again, it's knit with light fingering yarn. She doesn't have a main yarn that she recommends, but she does knit she does recommend like 10 different yarns in the patterns. You could use all of the knitting for olive yarns. She gives you a lot of options. She also does recommend using like sock yarn for this. I think she says you could probably do some of the sizes with like one skein of sock yarn. So I'm sure if you wanted to, you could get like a hand-dyed skein of yarn, and depending if you have a smaller size, you could probably knit this with one skein. So it could be also a pattern you keep for like those special skeins of yarn in your stash. And the size range does go from 28 inches to 62 inches, so big size range. The gauge is 32 inches per four stitches, and she uses a 2.75 millimeter needle to knit this project. So I've got two more patterns that are somewhat more basic, and then I've got a couple more textured knits. So the first one of the more basic tops I want to talk about is something that I think is really good for summer if you wear it with shorts, but would also be a really good top that could transition you from summer to fall or spring to summer. So it's a good knit to have that you could wear like all year round, depending on the weather. And that is the Top Frank. This is also by Mochi Knits, who did the Mento tee. And there are a lot of patterns that have this look to it, but it's a look that I love. You are going to be able to wear this top for the rest of your life. I mean, people have always worn tops like these. They're really popular and for a good reason. It's just a sleeveless top with kind of like a turtleneck or like a mock neck done in rib. I'm sure you could, if you wanted to make some adjustments to it, you could knit the neck shorter so it's more of a mock neck than a full turtleneck. But she knits this in a fingering weight yarn. She knits it in Isager Bomulin, which, if I remember correctly, Bomulin is a cotton linen blend, I think. Let's see. Yes, it's 65% cotton or 35% linen, and her gauge is 30 stitches per 4 inches. She uses a 3 millimeter needle and a 2.75 millimeter needle. And 30 stitches, I think if you size down, you could definitely get that with like the Knitting for Olive fingering weight yarns. So you could knit it in the merino or the cotton merino. I feel like something like this would not be good for the pure silk. I just don't think it'd look right, but you could definitely try. And this one does have less sizes. It comes from extra small to 2XL. It's actually knit from the bottom up, and she doesn't give too many details in the pattern description about the construction, but looking at it, it has minimal shaping. I'm guessing it's mostly just a tube with some probably waist shaping or bust shaping, and then you pick up, I'm assuming, for the neck. And it seems like it'd be pretty simple. This is another one that would be so good if you knit like in a lighter neutral, in a darker neutral, so you could pair it with different outfits. It could be like a good, like even like a date night top, depending on how you style it. I think something like this is gonna be a staple in your wardrobe. So I definitely recommend this for a capsule wardrobe. So this next pattern is not, it's not stockinette, but it's still what I would consider to be like a more basic pattern. And this is the Stella top by Tweety Sheep, is her Ravelry store name. I've seen this pattern before, but I'll tell you, the opening picture that she has for the design on Ravelry is the top like on a hanger, and I've really never clicked on it because it just doesn't stand out to me when I see it in the hanger. But then I was on Pinterest and I saw someone had posted this on Pinterest, but it was the photo of her wearing it, and it just completely like transformed it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is such a cute top. And I feel like she should, I don't know, in my opinion, I feel like the picture of it on the hanger doesn't do it justice, and I feel like maybe more people would click on it and see it if they saw it being worn as like the opening photo. This is just a ribbed tank top. It's very cute, very simple. It looks like it wouldn't take that long to knit. She knits it pretty cropped, but I'm sure you can knit it to any length that you want to. She says it's actually knit in a sport weight yarn, and she recommends drop saffron, which is 100% cotton yarn. The gauge for that yarn is supposed to be 24 stitches per 4 inches, and her gauge for this pattern is 28 stitches per 4 inches in the ribbed pattern. So I really think you could probably use a lighter fingering weight yarn if you wanted to, and maybe mess around a bit with sizing to get the gauge that you want to, or mess around with the needle size, because I'm the kind of person that doesn't like anything over fingering weight yarn for my summer knits. But if you're okay with knitting a sport weight yarn, you could just knit this pattern as it is. And she uses a 2.75 millimeter needle for this. It's got good size range. It comes in 2X2. Why do I keep saying this? It comes in like 2XS. Yeah, it comes from 2XS to 4XL. She doesn't have a lot of info on the pattern in the description. She just says it's seamless rib pattern. I'm trying to see what kind of rib it is. It doesn't look like a standard rib. It looks like she has different types of rib throughout. But it does seem like it'd be a simple pattern. It's got thicker straps, so I feel like it could be bra friendly. But this is just a really cute top. I do want to knit this at some point. I just think it's really cute. It kind of reminds me of the mixed rib cami. It's like similar to that like it's got the different numbers of rib throughout it. But it's just obviously it's more of like a square neck design. Now we are going to get into a couple of my more textured tanks that I chose. I feel like even in a basics kind of wardrobe, it's good to have pieces with a little bit more texture or like visual interest. And just because they have a little bit more texture or visual interest doesn't mean that, they're not still timeless or very versatile. These just have a little bit more texture to them, and I think that a neutral top with a little bit of texture is still going to be a really good basic, and it can just add some interest to your outfit, in my opinion. So the first textured tank that I want to talk about is the Bed Ruthin camisole. I have absolutely no idea if I'm saying that right. And it's by Iris Makes on Ravelry. I'm trying to make sure I'm pronouncing that correctly. It looks like her name is Iris H, so I guess it's a play on words. Iris H. Very interesting. It's this really cool camisole. It's got thicker straps. It's got some kind of rib texture throughout. Looking at it, it seems to be 2x2 rib, and then it's a V-neck, and it's got this scalloped edging on the V-neck. So it's nothing that makes it super trendy or outlandish, but it's just got some really interesting details that I feel like make it look like store-bought, like really professional, and make it something that would stand out, but isn't like not a basic, you know what I mean? This would be really interesting to knit in just some more basic colors, or this would be a really cool piece to have in your wardrobe if you knit it in like one of your brighter accent colors in your color palette. I just think this is another kind of pattern that, even though it's interesting texturally, it's a good one to knit in like multiple colors if you do that kind of thing, because I just feel like it can serve different purposes in your wardrobe depending on what color you knit it in and how you style it. This is a fingering weight pattern knit in Knitting for Olive Pure Silk with a 3mm needle. And I actually have some pure silk in my stash, so depending on how my knitting plans go for the rest of the summer, I might knit this because I think it's a really cool piece. It looks like it'd be bra friendly too, depending on how low cut the V is. Motorcycles driving by. Because it's got thicker straps. It's hard to tell from the picture if the V-neck would be low enough to like show your bra, but I don't think so based on just looking at it. It's got nine sizes ranging from 28 inches around the bust to 60 inches at the bust. She says it's meant to be really drapey, and it's got, again, the scallop straps. And oh, it looks like, looking at this, she actually has two different options for the depth of the neckline. So you could have it be higher up if you wanted to. So that's an interesting thing that she includes as an option, so you don't have to calculate that yourself. You don't like the deeper V. And then on the side, it's just got a split hem, which I'm not a split hem person personally. I've seen it in some sweaters that I like. I feel like if you have a longer split hem, then it's a cool design feature. But if it's a smaller split hem, I feel like it doesn't add anything. But that's just my opinion. So if I knit this, I would probably do it without the split hem. I don't know. I just never really liked them that much. But if you're into that, this is a detail that pattern has. So that's pretty cool. It is knit top down. You start knitting the back flat and then the front flat, and then you join and you knit down the round like a lot of camisole patterns. Okay, so the last tank pattern I have for you today is another textured tank. It's got some really interesting shaping around the bust that really accentuates your bust, if you know what I mean. And I think it looks really good. It's really fitted. This is the Vico top by Contour Knits, and this definitely fits the description of a contour knit, in my opinion. It's got wider straps, so again, it would look bra friendly, and just this really interesting rib texture throughout. I would want to knit this just because I would want to try to figure out how she came up with this contoured knit rib pattern. It's really interesting to look at, and it would really accentuate your figure because it's very fitted, especially with the rib and the rib around the bust and everything. This is another fingering weight yarn pattern, and the gauge is 28 stitches per 4 inch, and that is actually in stockinette, which is interesting. I don't know why you wouldn't do a gauge swatch in the pattern stitch, but knowing how fingering weight knits go, and ribs are, you've got a little more leeway with rib patterns, so I'm sure it would be fine. You could use any of the Knitting for Olive yarns for this. It's more fitted, so again, I wouldn't use the pure silk personally, or you could use any other fingering weight yarn that has maybe a blend of wool fiber to help with that elasticity. And she knits it with a 3mm needle, and it's got 9 sizes. I really like the wide strap, square neck kind of look. I think that, to me, it's really flattering on me. I like it more than some rounder neck patterns. See, for me, if I'm knitting a tank, usually I prefer V-neck or the square neck, which is interesting because that's not really at all what I've knitted this summer. I knit the square necked camisole, so I did that. But the other 2 lace camisoles I knit were both kind of like the round neck, which I don't feel is the best look on me personally. So I think this and the bed Ruth and camisole would be really good for me personally. I think they just would look good on me. So if you feel like you like my style, then definitely check this pattern out because it's really cool. It's also knit top down. You start with the straps and then you join in the round at the chest. She uses increases and decreases to do that interesting bust shaping. I'm gonna put a picture up of that bust shaping because it's just really cool to look at. And then you just keep knitting the rib all the way down until you're done. And looking at the pattern description, it looks like she finishes it off with an Italian bind off since it's just 1x1 ribbing. And then she does I-cords around the straps and the neckline. So techniques that are used in a lot of camisoles. If you've knit a lot of camisoles before, I'm sure you've done these before. So if you like that look, definitely check this out. It's only got 7 projects on Ravelry, and I think it's a really cute tank. So I would love to see more people knitting it. So I've got 4 more patterns I want to show you, and they don't fit into the tees or tanks, but they're other items that I feel would work good in a summer capsule wardrobe. So 2 things I wanted to have in this capsule collection. Even though it's summer, I wanted to have some kind of lightweight cardigan and some kind of lightweight sweater. I personally wouldn't get as much use out of them. I probably would get some use out of having a cardigan in the summer, to bring with me into restaurants or something. But I wanted to pick a lightweight cardigan and a lightweight sweater because I'm sure there's lots of people in summers around the world that definitely could use those, maybe in a late night or in a restaurant or something. So I did pick a sweater and a cardigan that I think would work good for that kind of summer. The first one I'm going to talk about is the garden cardigan by Strict. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I'm sorry. It looks like she's Norwegian or German. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know. But it's a really cute lace cardigan. It's very lightweight. It doesn't have buttons, which I feel like one of those little cardigans that don't have buttons and just kind of hangs over your shoulders is a really cute layering piece for when it's warmer outside because it's really easy just to take on and off. And I feel like when I think of a cardigan designed for the summer, I really think it wouldn't have buttons because you're probably never going to button it up. So I would want a cardigan that is designed to look good with just hanging off your shoulders, you know what I mean? You would definitely have to play around with your yarn choice for this one because she holds 2 lace weights together. I think she holds 2 lace weight cashmere yarns together, and then she claims that makes a DK. But then she also says that you have 19 stitches per 4 inches in the lace pattern. So if I were you, I might go through the projects and see what other people have chosen for their yarns. Because in my head, a lace and a lace wouldn't make a DK. I don't know. I don't know how thick the lace she's holding together uses. But it definitely looks to be a really lightweight fabric that it creates. So yeah, I would just maybe try to figure out, maybe do some playing around with yarn that you have so you can figure out like what kind of weight yarn you should get. But I don't know. It comes in 6 sizes and it's knit on 4mm needles and 3.5mm needles. This pattern is kind of like this lace rib sort of, so it's got like the little panels of stockinette, just panels of the lace, and part of me wonders if it has that larger gauge just because it's a little bit more open. It does seem like it creates like this airier fabric, and I'm not sure if that's because of the weight of the yarn or if it's because of the pattern, but it just looks like it would give you that little bit of warmth in the summer if you need it, but it would feel lightweight, and it would feel like it wouldn't be such a burden to carry it around with you, like, you know what I mean? Like, if you're going to be walking around and you know you're going to be going into a lot of places with air conditioning, you wouldn't want to carry like maybe like a full thicker wool cardigan, even if that would keep you warm in those restaurants. You would want something that wouldn't weigh you down even when you're outside, like if you had to just carry it or like tie it around your waist or something. So I feel like this would be like the perfect summer cardigan. And I'm loving lace this summer. I love the lace in this. It looks like it has a drop shoulder. It's not really fitted, not really oversized. It just kind of looks like it's there to fit your body comfortably. She says that the cardigan has 10 inches of positive ease, but positive ease always kind of works a little different with cardigans. But it doesn't look to be like super oversized, and the lightweight fabric especially kind of seems like it just hangs onto your body. And it is worked seamlessly from the top down, and she does say that there is a hidden pocket on the inside, and I think she has another optional patch pocket. So if you like having pockets in your cardigans, this is a good one. It's got pockets, it's lightweight, this is the perfect summer cardigan to me. That's my opinion. So now I'm going to show you the knitted sweater, the summer sweater that I chose for the summer capsule wardrobe. I spent a long time looking for sweaters because obviously we are knitters. There are a million sweater patterns to look through, and I can only pick one for this. And again, I don't want to pick petite knit or my favorite things knitwear. We've all seen their patterns. I wanted to show something a little different. So I finally decided to pick this one. My requirements were I wanted it to be fingering weight, maybe at most sport weight, because again, it's summer. I want it to be really lightweight. I want it to be something that's cute, but you could just throw on over a tank top or something, you know, you could just wear it by yourself if you're going to be inside, but it's not going to keep you too warm. So I decided on this one, and I think this is also a good pattern because she includes instructions to knit this as a t-shirt too. It is the Slightly Sassy V by Amy Share Makes. It's a fingering weight yarn. One of the yarns she recommends is Pearl Soho Linen Quill, which I think is a linen wool blend. Let me see. It's a wool linen alpaca blend, but it's a fingering weight yarn pattern, so you can knit it in any fingering weight fiber that you like. The gauge is 24 stitches per 4 inches, which I'm guessing means that it also has a slightly less dense gauge. It is knit on 3.5 or 3.25mm needles. It comes in 9 sizes. It's got the V-neck. It's all just simple stockinette. And it's meant to have 2 to 5 inches of positive ease, but she also has optional bust darts, so you could have a little bit of negative ease if that's what you want. It's a really simple pattern, but I think for a summer sweater, this is, I feel like, the perfect kind of simple summer sweater to have in your repertoire. The next slightly different pattern I'm going to talk about is actually a dress pattern. And this is another one where it took me a long time to select what I wanted to have in this slot for this video. It's less common to see knitted dresses. Obviously, it takes a long time to knit a dress. When you think of summer dresses, you don't always think of knit dresses, but I wanted to have one knit dress in this video that could work for the summer. So after a lot of searching, I finally decided on the Crossed Summer Dress by Anna Catherine Stoll. It's an interesting, like, spaghetti strap dress. She knits it in like a longer length, but you could definitely knit it in a shorter length. It's got like a slit in the side. It's knit in a light fingering weight yarn, and she calls it the Crossed Summer Dress because it has these crossed straps in the back. So you could kind of dress it up a little bit, dress it down. It kind of looks almost like a sundress, but it also kind of looks like a date night dress, just depending on how you accessorize it. And I think this is probably like the best summery dress pattern I could find. I think, you could knit this. I think this would be a good one to knit in one of your more accent colors. Maybe not like one of your most intense ones, but a little bit more interesting than a neutral. And since it's a dress by itself, you could just use your neutral accessories and you can wear it like any day you want. The gauge is 26 stitches per 4 inches, and she knits it with a 3.5 millimeter needle or a 4 millimeter needle. And it does just come from extra small to XL, so that is unfortunate. But again, she does mention in her description that a lot of people have asked her about updating her size range, and she decided she wants to update them this year one by one. So she does include her email. If you want to knit this pattern and your size is not included, you can send her an email and talk to her about possibly test knitting for her in a different size. So it's always good when designers give you that option. It's very fitted, and it looks like the straps, I thought maybe they were I-cord, but it looks like they're actually done in double knitting, but it seems to be pretty thin double knitting. So I feel like that would be like a little bit more substantial than just a simple I-cord strap. It's meant to have 3 to 6 centimeters of negative ease, and she says she does, since it's a dress pattern, she does include some instructions on how to like blend the sizes. Like if your waist is one size and your bust is another size, she has tips on how you can sort of blend those together to get your perfect fit. And the final pattern I have to show you guys today is actually a skirt pattern, which I mentioned at the beginning of the video. I have had this skirt in my Ravelry favorites, like ever since I've had Ravelry, and I never see anybody talk about it. It's only got 2 projects on Ravelry. I feel like this is a super cute skirt pattern. I call this a summer skirt because it's just a mini skirt that the designer knit in cotton, so I think you could definitely have this be a summer skirt, or it could be a winter skirt or a fall skirt. But it's this really pretty mini skirt. It's got like kind of like an A-line shape. It almost like has these like seams down the center, although I know it's all knit in the round, so I don't know how she does those seams. It's really cool looking. I think they're meant to be like darts, kind of, to get like that good fit around your waist. This is a DK weight knit pattern, but I feel like that's probably better for like a skirt pattern, so it's a little bit more substantial, and she knits it in a cotton, like I said. The gauge is 23 stitches per 4 inch, and it's knit on 3 millimeter and 4 millimeter needles. Again, it only comes from extra small to extra large, but she does give the option to message her if you want to test knit a larger size. Obviously, this pattern has not been knit very much, so I understand why she hasn't done more sizes, but I would love to see more people knit this pattern. I think this is probably the best skirt pattern I've ever seen for knitting a skirt. I love it. I definitely am going to knit it at some point. And it's just knit top down and around. She includes instructions to kind of adapt it to your own fit, since, the skirt is kind of a harder piece to fit than just like a standard camisole. And it's meant to have 10 centimeters of positive ease around the hips. It looks like it should just be fitted around the waist, obviously. It also has an elastic waistband, so I think this is an amazing pattern. I don't know why this has not been seen more. I feel like I would love to have a knitted skirt for, I feel like a mini skirt is good for any season. Like in the summer, you can wear it with like one of your cute going out tops, or in the winter, you can wear it with tights and like a sweater. I don't know, I really like this one. This is something I'd really like to see people knit more. I just think it's really cool. But those are all the patterns that I have to show today for your summer capsule wardrobe. I definitely plan on doing this for the other seasons as well. I think this is an interesting thing. I like the pattern roundups where I can kind of try to find patterns that seem to get less love and try to hopefully give, them a little more attention, because there are a lot of great patterns that we might not see on the Ravelry hot page all the time. So yeah, I know not everyone likes pattern roundups, but I really like doing them. Let me know if you liked today's video, and if you did like today's video, please subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment, and thank you for watching. I will see you guys next time. Bye.